Vice President is currently in Costa Rica on the second leg of his visit to the Latin American and the Caribbean region. We've just come back after he has had a meeting with the President of Costa Rica, Carlos Alvarado Caseda, and that was a meeting which was a brief one-to-one followed by delegation-level talks. And there was, of course, a media briefing there as well, where the Vice President and President made a statement. You would have seen that, and you would have got a flavor of the way the discussions have gone. Those discussions were very warm, they were in-depth, and there was discussions on how to take forward the relationship, the many new opportunities that exist for exploration. Vice President arrived yesterday in Costa Rica. He was received at the airport by the Foreign Minister and the Minister in President's office. While welcoming Vice President, Foreign Minister, she remarked that this is the first time ever that an Indian aircraft touched the soil of Costa Rica. So you can from that draw the inference that this visit itself is in many, many ways a historic visit. It is a milestone and a new chapter in the relationship between India and Costa Rica. Yesterday, Vice President had given the keynote address at the India-Costa Rica Business Forum, where, of course, Vice President spoke and at length about the many opportunities that exist in India. And there was the Minister of Foreign Trade from Costa Rica side. She spoke about the opportunities and possibilities of collaboration between India and Costa Rica. All in all, from the two statements that were made, the keynote address by Vice President and the speech of the Foreign Minister, speech of the Trade Minister, and the Foreign Minister was also present there at the meeting, that there was a positive atmosphere. There was an eagerness to explore opportunities and to work together. And the reason is not hard to see, because Costa Rica is the leading economy in the Central American region. It has a strategic location, and it has a long, long tradition of democracy, which, with a growing economy, just like India's growing economy, with a focus on IT and a focus on growth. Therefore, we are natural partners. And from that natural partnership are the possibilities of collaboration in many areas. And this was discussed between the meeting, between the President and the Vice President. They spoke about how the economic partnership is growing and the trade opportunities. In particular, Vice President mentioned pharmaceuticals, which could be a very important area of collaboration between the two countries. Agriculture was mentioned, and as also areas like agriculture equipment, as areas in which trade can grow. Both sides spoke about invited their respective businessmen to invest in each other's countries. The Costa Rican President mentioned that Costa Rica could be a hub for the Indian business persons who invest here. They could reach the other markets in the region, given that Costa Rica has 15 free trade agreements with other countries. Vice President spoke about, invited the Costa Rican investments in India as well, because it is a large market and there's a possibility of scaling up in India. There was both sides agreed that they would encourage trade delegations and business-to-business contacts so that opportunities for joint venture could be looked at. Amongst the areas for cooperation, specifically were mentioned the pharmaceutical sector, including biotechnology, the health sector, renewable energy, including the hydropower, IT, digital economy, tourism, in particular ecotourism, and transportation. Now, these were discussed in details. If one can mention that India has already made available $30 million line of credit to Costa Rica earlier, and it was agreed that in these particular areas, in some of these areas, we could look at the possibility of India undertaking a project preparation facility to help prepare pre-feasibility studies for projects that could be undertaken through this line of credit. Separately also, there was discussions about how the two countries could engage under a format of SICA. SICA is the Sistema Integración Central America, and we do have a ministerial level dialogue, India-SICA dialogue. That is a meeting that there's next round for which we are working on dates. And there was a specific reference by President that we should work, President of Costa Rica, that we should work in this format as well. The other areas which were discussed, I would come back to you that there was President, while speaking about India, he spoke about his own personal great admiration for India, and there was appreciation for India's architecture, engineering skills, and urban planning. Costa Rica, they apprised of the work that they were going to undertake in upgrading their transportation system. And in that context, Vice President invited a team from Costa Rica that could visit our urban planning and urban transport training institutions and see our practices and learn from our practices as they consider appropriate and implement them in Costa Rica. The other issue that was spoken about, and I would mention, would be the pharmaceutical sector. Now, Costa Rica spoke in terms of looking at particular expeditious. We spoke about expeditious grant of approvals for some of our pharmaceutical products, and Costa Rica agreed to look into that possibility. We also spoke in great length, the two leaders also spoke in great length about environment. Costa Rica has, of course, undertaken its carbon neutral mission and stretching it further by 2085 to a decarbonization mission. In that context, they were questions that they asked, and Vice President apprised them of our mission to have 30% of e-vehicles by 2030. And that was something which the Costa Rican side felt would be very important in achieving their mission on decarbonization. Also on ISA, you would be aware that Costa Rica has signed up to the framework agreement, but ratification is pending. That ratification is underway, and hopefully that should also be concluded. On space, again, there was Vice President congratulated Costa Rica for having launched the space vehicle, and then offered again India's space capabilities for training as well as data sharing to Costa Rica. We do look forward to a couple of Costa Rican scientists coming to India for training at ISRO. The other issue which was discussed was capacity building. Vice President announced the doubling of ITech slots for Costa Rica. In fact, Costa Rica was very appreciative of the support that India has given for capacity building to Costa Rica, as well as the scholarships that have been given. So we would continue to work in that direction in terms of capacity building, as well as building up on our university-to-university collaborations. Vice President said that India would set up a chair in Indology in the university in a university in Costa Rica, which was welcomed. There was also discussion about collaboration on biotechnology, and in that context, we have concluded today a letter of intent on collaboration in biotechnology. India has also been working with Costa Rica in the IT sector, and we have established a Center of Excellence for IT in Costa Rica, which again the President spoke about and appreciated India's support in that context. Vice President conveyed India's readiness to support e-governance efforts of Costa Rica. So we'll be working in that direction as well. On terrorism, Vice President apprised the President of Costa Rica about the terrorist attack which took place in Pulwama. That attack has been condemned by Costa Rica. There's in the morning today, of course, the morning started with Vice President visiting the University for Peace, where he was conferred Dr. Honoris Causa for the work of Vice President for his role in promoting the rule of law, democracy, and sustainable development. Vice President accepted the degree as an honor for India, and in his speech he spoke about India's civilizational ethos, which was based on peace. And in that context, he mentioned that the challenges to peace today are terrorism. They arise from terrorism, they arise from climate change, cyber threats, and called upon the international community to work together to meet these challenges. Vice President tomorrow would have a meeting with the President of the Congress of Costa Rica, and thereafter a meeting with the Vice President, Campbell Barr, who will also host a lunch in his honor. The evening, the visit to Costa Rica would end with an interaction with the Indian community. This community here is largely working community. They are in the IT sector, and some of them are doing business. All of them doing very well, and their work and role appreciated by the leadership here. If I can mention, there was discussion on visas and a easier visa facility for Indian nationals coming to Costa Rica. The President said that they are working on it, and they should have easier and simpler visas, especially for business person, because if you are looking for investments, business visa should not be an impediment to that, to investments and businesses between our two countries. Anything I left? I think I've covered most of the things, and I'm open for questions.
What was this discussion about the SICA? Because why is the SICA meeting being postponed? Once in 2017 and once in 2018. That's the information I have. I could be wrong. But could you please share what exactly was the discussion, and when do you plan to have this negotiation?
The SICA meeting, which is a India-SICA ministerial meeting, the last meeting was held in New York. We are working on the dates for the next meeting. In fact, there were a couple of dates which didn't work, so we are looking at dates, and it's very much active. Hopefully, we may have to. We were hoping early, but probably in a couple of months you should have the meeting.
Ma'am, you have outlined everything that the two sides have talked, but there's no mention of the education. Is there any plan of having university-to-university exchanges or any kind of tie-ups or setting up?
No, I did. Uma, actually, there is appreciation for the scholarships that we give to the Costa Rican. President himself referred to it, and he appreciated it. And we have also announced the setting up of a chair in Indology studies in a university in Costa Rica. Besides that, there was discussion of how to link educational institutions. And since a large number of ideas were discussed, the meeting essentially, the discussions essentially laid down a roadmap. We would be now taking up further discussions, and we are hoping to have a Foreign Office consultation to concretize some of the ideas and to see the implementation of the decisions which were taken. And of course, we do have the National Knowledge Network, and that is a portal which we would willingly share with Costa Rican universities.
मैम जो फॉरेन मिनिस्टर थी उन्होंने ये मेंशन किया कि कोस्टा रिका में हवाई सेवाएं नहीं हैं और पहली बार इंडियन एयरलाइंस का जहाज यहाँ पर देखा गया। क्या भारत ये सोचता है कि यहाँ पर हवाई सेवाएं और बढ़ाई जाएं, क्योंकि यहाँ पर अगर देखा जाए तो कम्युनिटी का नंबर भी 250 के आसपास है। ऐसे में वाइबल भी क्या रहेगा दोनों देशों के बीच हवाई सेवाएं शुरू करना, और क्या ऐसा कुछ विचार किया जा रहा है? मैंने नेट पे देखा था तो 250 आया।
नहीं 250 नहीं, 600 भारतीय यहाँ हैं। जहाँ तक हवाई उड़ान की बात है, ये जो निर्णय होते हैं ज़्यादातर तो जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कम्युनिटी इतने नंबर नहीं है, क्योंकि ये कमर्शियली वायबल भी होना चाहिए। परंतु ये बात ज़रूर है कि ये देख सकते हैं कि कोड शेयरिंग की पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकती है कि नहीं। तो अभी तक तो उतना है, पर बातचीत आगे चलती रहेगी। और कनेक्टिविटी, चाहे वो आपके एयरपोर्ट एयर कनेक्टिविटी हो और डिजिटल कनेक्टिविटी हो, उसके ऊपर बात चलती है।
दूसरा मेरा सवाल है कि भारत किस क्षेत्र में देख रहा है कि यहाँ पर निवेश किया जा सके, किस तरह की इंडस्ट्री को लगाने के बारे में विचार किया जा रहा है?
जो इंडस्ट्रीज़ की बात हुई थी, आज तो बहुत बात हुई थी इंडस्ट्री की। ई व्हीकल्स की पॉसिबिलिटी है, क्योंकि इंडिया ने अपना जो मिशन किया है और हमारा जो फोकस है ई व्हीकल्स के ऊपर, उसके यहाँ इन्वेस्टमेंट हो सकती है। एक तो उसके ऊपर आज काफ़ी बात हुई थी, परंतु वी आर ऑल्सो लुकिंग एट इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एरियाज ऑफ IT, वी आर लुकिंग एट इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन फार्मास्यूटिकल्स, बिकॉज बात हुई थी कि इंडिया हैज़ अ ह्यूज स्ट्रेंथ इन फार्मास्यूटिकल्स, कि अगर कोई जॉइंट वेंचर बने, we can have a location of it here in Costa Rica. And any other possibility in terms of market, it will be a market-driven business. So the idea is for the business people to interact with each other. Hopefully delegations, there will be more delegations, trade delegations between the two countries, so that they can explore the business opportunities.
क्योंकि ये क्लाइमेट चेंज और ग्रीन कंट्री है, इस करके इनका एम्फसिस और फोकस बहुत है टू मेंटेन दिस प्योरिटी, इनफैक्ट प्योर विदा, they get pure life. So the public transportation system is receiving very high focus, and they are holding India in high esteem. वो सोच रहे हैं कि हम लोग ने अपनी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन प्रॉब्लम को बहुत अच्छा सॉल्व किया है और कर रहे हैं। और ऑनरेबल वाइस प्रेसिडेंट जी ने बताया कि इंडिया इज़ द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट रेलवे नेटवर्क इन द वर्ल्ड। सो इनकी दो प्रायोरिटीज़ हैं जो फर्स्ट लेडी खुद देख रही हैं अबाउट रेलवेज़। एक तो अर्बन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन विद इन द सिटीज़, एंड देन क्रॉस कंट्री रेलवेज़ ऑल्सो। सो इसमें डिपेंडिंग ऑन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द कोस्टारिकन्स, जैसे सेक्रेटरी साहिबा ने बताया कि टीम्स पहले आएंगी, एक्सपर्ट टीम्स, और असेसमेंट होगी। सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन द इंटरेस्ट बाय द कोस्टारिकन्स, इंडिया वुड बी विलिंग to lend technology and expertise, and it could be under the line of credit.
Elaborate on the terrorism aspect that was discussed. Will Costa Rica, like Paraguay, will they be raising this issue in the international fora?
The discussions were on not specifically on terrorism, but it was on the terrorist attack in India, and they condemned the terrorist attack.
If there are no more questions, we will conclude this press briefing. Thank you everyone for coming. Good night.